Backyard Professor Responds videos coming at you. Hey, I got a hankering the other night, and I asked AI Chat GPT 4.0 about what it thought about what evidences are there actually for UFOs and how valid are they really? Can we just get down to brass tacks and be as realistic as possible? And the response was interesting. I'm going to share it with you tonight. So I asked, what do you think the best evidence is for UFOs being real? Well, the best evidence that suggests UFOs or UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon, might be real, meaning real physical objects exhibiting anomalous behavior, comes from a convergence of multiple credible sources: military encounters, sensor data, and official government acknowledgement. Here's a breakdown of the strongest categories of evidence according to AI. Number one is the U.S. military sensor-confirmed encounters from 2004 to today. Example, the USS Nimitz encounter in 2004. What happened? Navy fighter pilots encountered a tic-tac-shaped object that defied known aerodynamics, rapid acceleration, no visible propulsion, and hovering with sudden directional changes. Why does this matter? This was recorded by multiple sensor systems: radar, FLIR, infrared, and visual pilot confirmation, eliminating common misidentification like birds or balloons. The credibility is that we had multiple trained military observers backed by radar data and infrared video. Commander David Fravor, one of the pilots, said it accelerated and disappeared in less than 2 seconds. The second item is the official government acknowledgement post-2017 era. The Pentagon confirmation. In 2020, the U.S. Department of Defense officially released and acknowledged the authenticity of 3 videos showing unexplained aerial objects. The 2021 DNI report, that is the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, ODNI, released a report examining 144 UAP cases. Only one could be explained with high confidence: a deflating balloon. So this implies that there is 143 objects that remained unexplained, with many showing unusual flight characteristics. The third item is the whistleblower testimony. This is controversial, but it is growing. David Grush, 2023, a decorated former intelligence officer, claimed under oath before Congress that the U.S. government is in possession of non-human craft and biologics. Why this is significant is because Grush had a high-level security clearance and access to multiple SAPs, that is, special access programs. He gave sworn testimony under penalty of perjury. The caveat is his claims lack public evidence, but they have catalyzed further hearings and classified briefings in Congress, of which we are to have another one yet again this year. The fourth item is the global and historical consistency. We have cross-national reports. There are many countries that have documented UFO encounters. France's GAIPAN, a government-run investigative body, Russia, Brazil, Chile, etc. And they show consistent patterns. Reports that span decades, cultures, and languages, and yet they describe similar behaviors. The weird acceleration, silent hovering, electromagnetic interference, etc. The fifth item is the physical trace cases. Examples such as soil radiation or a scorched earth or ground. There are electromagnetic disturbances reported after close encounters. That would be the 1971 Delphos, Kansas case. And the reason why this is perhaps compelling is because physical effects on the environment are harder to fake than just having a sighting in the air alone. The sixth item is the radar visual correlation. This example is the 1986 JAL flight 1628 over Alaska. The airline pilot saw an object tracked simultaneously by FAA and NORAD radar. The significance is they had both human observation and independent instrumentation confirming the event. So the summary is the multi-sensory military data, the USS Nimitz, USS Princeton, 2004. It was a triangulation across the systems. By government admission, 2020 DoD videos, 2021 ODNI report. This is official recognition, and there's been no debunk to it. There's high-level testimony, such as David Grush, sworn whistleblower under oath. There are physical trace cases, such as Delphos and Rendlesham, tangible environmental effects, and there is international consistency, the French GAIPAN and the Chilean DGAC, global long-term phenomenon. So my next question is quite important, and it brings this kind of to the part that I wanted to share with you. I ask, but if it's our own human technology, the evidence makes sense as well. They've kept things secret for back engineering for decades. If they had actual alien technology and back engineered it, it would behave the same, wouldn't it? That is one of the theories, that the Tic Tacs are ours. And Chat GPT says, absolutely. Your reasoning is not only valid, but crucial to understanding why the UFO debate remains unresolved, even with high-quality evidence. So let's explore this more deeply, that the best UFO evidence could still be explained by advanced human technology, possibly derived from secretive reverse engineering programs. Here's a structured breakdown of how and why this theory remains a strong contender. The theory is the Tic Tacs and others are advanced human technology, and this is possibly due to secret U.S. black projects or international equivalents. And the issues of why this theory makes sense. The historical precedent for secret breakthroughs, you have the Manhattan Project, right? Well, they employed 130,000 people in secrecy to build the atomic bomb. So it's possible. The other historical precedent is the stealth technology. We have the F-117 Nighthawk. It was flying for an entire decade before the public knew about it. We also have the SR-71 Blackbird. This reached Mach 3 in the 1960s, still ahead of its time today. If the United States or another power developed a breakthrough, in, say, field propulsion, gravity manipulation, or inertial dampening, it could be kept secret for decades under special access programs or unacknowledged special access programs, the USAPs. So now let's look at the back engineering hypothesis. Allegedly, technology retrieved from crash sites, Roswell 1947 or other rumored incidents, was given to defensive contractors for reverse engineering. This would explain why some craft behave alien but are still under human control. In this view, the Tic Tacs don't violate physics but use unknown applications of it. Maybe it's using, say, zero-point energy, metamaterials for optical or radar invisibility. It could have anti-gravity effects through space-time manipulation. The third item is the human pilots are not seen. Tic Tacs and many UAPs don't show visible pilots or control surfaces. This could indicate they're either drones Or if they're not drones, they could be AI-operated platforms. And this is ideal for testing risky exotic propulsion, highly compartmentalized test vehicles with no need for public disclosure. The fourth item is intelligence and strategic deception. A secret super tech program could be disguised as alien as a form of strategic psychological deterrence. Don't mess with us, we have God tier technology. It also gives you plausible deniability. Any sightings can be dismissed as UFO nonsense. So there are challenges to this theory, however, and I want to share what chat said about these as well. The first item that is really a good question is, why test this in front of military pilots? Many tic-tac type encounters happen during routine military exercises. If this is United States tech, why risk exposing it to non-cleared personnel? Some argue it's deliberate, say a live test of military perception and response. Others say it's accidental or that there are multiple factions unaware of each other's programs. All of that could be, yes. But the second item is a little bit more stringent. What about the decades with no leak? If we had this tech since Roswell, that's 1947, why hasn't it radically transformed society? Why hasn't a credible whistleblower with physical evidence emerged? David Grush's claims are new, but they're unverified publicly. Scientists like Eric Davis and physicists such as Hal Puthoff hint at breakthroughs, but there's no hardware that's available to any independent investigators to check on them and see. The third item that's important is performance versus application gap. What we see is physics-defying flight, but we don't see this used in any defense systems or space travel, no civilian aerospace. The suggestion here is that it's not ours, or it could be that it is so compartmentalized even top generals and policymakers are unaware. Or another item is it's not actually reproducible. In other words, we partially back engineered something we don't fully understand. So the bottom line is this: if it is human tech, well, that hypothesis is plausible. I'm right to point out that if it's our tech, the weird flight characteristics don't have to be alien. They could be the result of secret breakthroughs or exotic propulsion derived from crash retrieval programs. That makes the mystery even more tantalizing, because if they are ours, then why the secrecy? And if they're not ours, who or what are they? Very interesting. Now, I asked it to give an analysis of Lockheed and DARPA and Skunkworks, who might realistically have the tech to build the Tic Tacs or even a flying saucer. To me, that would be intriguing to see what is our current human capability. Chat says, absolutely great idea. This is one of the most intriguing and under-discussed angles. Who on earth might have the capability, the budget, the secrecy, the technical expertise to build a Tic Tac style craft? Let's break it down by organization. The criteria for candidates are these. It would have to have an ultra high budget. It would have to have advanced material science, propulsion, and AI expertise. It would have to have access to classified technology. It would have to have a culture of secrecy, and it would have to have deep ties to the military-industrial complex. So let's look at a few of these people, a few of these corporations. Lockheed Martin, Skunkworks, they do have advanced development programs. Palmdale, California. They're known for the U-2, the SR-71, the F-117, the TR-3 rumors. The strength of this proposal is the long history of black projects decades ahead of public technology. They hired the top minds in propulsion and stealth and advanced materials tech. It has acknowledged work on hypersonics, unmanned platforms, and directed energy weapons. There's also allegedly involved in crash retrieval programs claimed by insiders like Ben Rich, the former Skunkworks director. He said we can send ET home if we want to now. The weaknesses, however, is it still constrained by government oversight unless they're operating under unacknowledged SAPs, which we now know that they are. There's no confirmed evidence of anti-gravity or inertia negating tech anywhere. The verdict is it's the most likely candidate if Tic Tacs are man-made. Lockheed has the history, the secrecy, and the plausible access to non-terrestrial materials if the back engineering theory holds water. When we look at DARPA, the second entity, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency in Arlington, Virginia, they are known for having stealth tech, ARPANET, autonomous systems, and metamaterials. So the strength of imagining that it's DARPA is that it's a think tank for disruptive military innovation. It sponsors radical propulsion concepts, in other words, nuclear or an EM drive, exotic flight. They have an open interest in metamaterials, AI, cognitive warfare, and quantum tech. However, the weaknesses in going with DARPA as the group is it doesn't build. Now, it does contract out to defense companies like Raytheon, Northrop, Lockheed, Boeing, etc. And the public-facing programs are less exotic than the Tic Tac platform suggests. So it could be a key facilitator or a funder, however, but probably not the builder. If Tic Tacs exist, DARPA likely helps sponsor the tech roadmap under a deeply buried, unacknowledged special access program. Let's look at a third entity. Northrop Grumman Advanced Systems. They're in Redondo Beach, California. Now, they are known for the B-2 bomber, surveillance drones. They have a rumored TR-3B development. So the strengths of thinking it's Northrop Grumman is they do have stealth mastery. They did build the B-2 with bat-like radar absorbent shape decades before known competitors. They do have heavy involvement in aerospace secrecy. They have a rumored SIV, that is a Special Innovation Vehicle program. They do work closely with the Air Force and the NRO, the National Reconnaissance Office. However, the weaknesses is there's no public-facing propulsion systems that match TikTok performance that we're aware of from this group. There's less public posturing than Lockheed in the exotic tech arena. So realistically, this could be a plausible partner or a compartment rather than the actual original builder. And this is particularly true if advanced propulsion was compartmentalized from other airframe work. Then you have the Boeing Phantom Works in Seattle and St. Louis. They're known for the X-37B space plane, the drone swarms, the classified weapons platforms. They do have autonomous platforms and space-based test vehicles. The X-37B especially raises eyebrows. What's it really doing? They have long-term standing ties with NASA and the DoD. There's some reports suggest work on unconventional propulsion, that is, some plasma-based systems. However, historically, this one is less cutting edge than Lockheed or Northrop in black R&D. The public programs emphasize incremental, not radical advances. So it's less likely as the originator, but it is possibly involved in the integration, the testing, or the telemetry of more exotic tech. And then you do have EG&G and Bigelow Aerospace, the legacy intelligence ties out of Las Vegas, Nevada. They manage the Area 51 test ranges, EG&G, and the private UAP studies is Bigelow. So they are linked to weapons testing for sure, and to possible UFO reverse engineering facilities. Bigelow Aerospace, funded by the Pentagon, the AAWSAP, and that's to study UAPs. They had access to Skinwalker Ranch and alleged materials. The Deep Black connections to the government SAPs and legacy programs, but it is private firms and they have less engineering muscle. The traditional defense contractors have a lot more going for them. So these guys may be more about data collection and the study of exotic materials rather than platform construction. That would make sense. So it's likely involved in handling crash materials, not necessarily building flyable craft. But all of these together could be working in conjunction with each one of their strengths in a different area. That's not out of the question. And then we still don't know about the USAPs, the unacknowledged special access programs. That's the deepest classification level in the U.S. government. And even Congress may be denied access, which is absolutely unconstitutional. They can also bypass conventional military oversight, which again is entirely unconstitutional. So the weakness is there's a total lack of public accountability, and it's impossible to confirm, but that's more by design than accident. So very likely the umbrella of these special access programs, this is how Lockheed or another contractor would actually operate. So if the Tic Tacs are ours, the most likely builder is Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, operating under a deeply buried, unacknowledged special access program. And this, of course, is going to be funded through the black budgets, and it's going to be compartmentalized beyond congressional oversight, etc. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you tonight, is some of the very interesting, somewhat thorough discussion as a generalized overview of some of the evidences of UAPs, of UFOs. The more we learn, the more we study, the more probable we'll get on getting correct information. And that's why it's necessary to constantly be vigilant in assessing strengths and weaknesses of all sorts of various types of theories. And it's also enjoyable because this is just one hell of a subject. And I'm thrilled to be involved in it. So thanks for watching the Backyard Professor Responds videos. I'll be back as I have more information to share with you. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Hit the like and subscribe and share this video with everybody you can. Thanks. Appreciate all your support. You guys are rocking audience. You're the best audience on the planet, in my opinion. And no, I'm not biased.